So welcome viewers to Field of Dreams. This is Axe Television Network. My name is Steve David and I'm your host. As usual, we talk football, and today we have two special guests. I've got a treat for you viewers. First, let me introduce my co-host, Narada Wilson. Welcome to the set, Narada.
Always a pleasure to be here, and this time in the presence of two great men that stand up in the line of defense for Trinidad and Tobago. And Steve, it's always good to be here to give you support.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you. And let me introduce these two superstars, our national superstars that I know viewers, we've heard of them, we've seen them, but we don't really know them. And let me take a minute to introduce Marvin Andrews. Marvin, welcome to the set.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here. Thank you all for inviting me here. And it's always a pleasure once I'm back home, to be part of this show.
Thank you for being here, Marvin. Appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you.
And Denis Laurence. Denis, you have a goal that rings through the world, and it will continue to ring for the rest of your life. I'm so glad to have you. Welcome to the set.
Steve, thank you for having me.
Okay, viewers, sit back, pull up a chair, get a drink, and let's talk to Marvin and Laurence and Denis on their life, guys. So I know it's going to be back and forth, so just help me along. What are you up to now? What are you doing presently?
Right, at this present time, I'm in Scotland. I'm still playing. At this present time, at 40 years of age, which is very unlikely. I'm playing League 2 in Scotland last season. Obviously, this season I played with Clyde Football Club, which was in League 2, with my good mate Barry Ferguson, who is the manager. So I'm still actively, playing, not at the highest level, but I'm still actively playing and, still working hard and doing, what I normally do all my career. So I still have a good, desire to play the game. Even I'm 40 years of age, it's much harder. Obviously, after a game, the little aches and pains here and there. But by God's grace, I thank God every day that He gives me the strength and the power to still be playing at this present time.
Still look good and still look very healthy, man.
Yeah, still keeping myself fit.
Keep it going, yeah. What about you, Denis? What are you doing up to now?
Yeah, well, obviously I'm back in the coaching field. I've been coaching now for the last 6 seasons, which has been a totally different challenge from the challenge of being a football player, because, as we all understand, as a football player, you only have to look after yourself. When you're involved in coaching, you got to look after a group of players. So I've been involved in the coaching for the last 6 seasons now, and it's been a fantastic experience, and it's been a fantastic goal for myself in terms of, trying to achieve good things and represent Trinidad and Tobago to the best as I've always done. So it's been great for me so far.
And it's not as easy as playing, is it? Which is easier?
No,
coaching or playing?
when you're playing, it's a lot easier, because, as I said, when you're playing, the only thing you need to do is look after yourself. The only thing you think about is you think about yourself. Right. If you don't play, you're upset that you're not playing. When you're looking after players, you got to think about the entire group. You got to think about the football club. You got to think about everything that you're doing. So, in terms of a player to coaching, you would probably say the coaching is a lot more time consuming, because once you're involved in coaching, you never really come off the ball. You find yourself watching the football game in a totally different way now, because you watch the game and the first thing you start looking at the tactical gains and the individual and the physical and all these things, compared to when you were playing. You just watch the game and enjoy it. So from a coaching point of view, it's a lot more time consuming. It's a lot more demanding. But at the same time, it's enjoyable, because it's always the product at the end of the training. At the end of the training week, when you look at the game and you can see things that you worked with the staff, and you see it coming into play on the football pitch. So it's been great. And
the worst thing about being a coach is you can't go on the field and play, right? You can tell them what to do, but you can't do it.
You can ask them what to do.
Right. Marvin, when you first played in Trinidad, who did you play for? Where did you start?
Well, many years ago, I played on San Juan Jablete, which there's a manager called Michael, which I was very young age at that time, playing in a rank West Savannah. Obviously, I went to San Juan Senior Comprehensive. That's where I actually, decided to become a footballer, because when I was much younger, I used to take part in any sports. You're a young boy, you're playing basketball, you're playing cricket,
Right.
again, involved in athletics, all these different things. But at when I played with, San Juan Senior Comprehensive, that is when obviously I decided to, give football a real go. And obviously that season in 1992, 91 is when I had a good season. Played with San Juan Senior Comprehensive with Marvin Oliver. We had a great time. Obviously, I was selected after that to screen in for Trinidad and Tobago national under 18 team with out of over 100 players from different places. Mr. Keith Lukloy was the manager at that time, and thank God I made the final 18 to represent Trinidad and Tobago at national under 18 level of 17 years of age, and that is where my journey all started. Within that time, I played for ECM Motong. In that same time as well, I played for Carib FC, where I worked at Carib. I was part-time. I worked part-time and played part-time. Colin Murray was the manager, and God rest his soul, Mr. Timnaf Ziga was he was like the manager. He used to look after the boys as well, on the football stage.
Right.
So that is where it all began for me.
Right. And Denis, I know you played in the professional league here, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember coaching Civic Center, semi-pro, I think.
Yeah, it was semi-professional at the time, but my journey started, I started off with Move On Elements, because that was my hometown club. So that's where I actually started Move On Elements, and from Move On Elements, I went and I joined Batara Ball Players, because I was introduced to Basil Smith at the time by one of my good friends. I'm from Batara Ball Players. That's when I went on to Caledonia AA. I'm from Caledonia AA. I finished off at the Defence Force before going abroad to play in the UK. So in terms of school football, I mainly played in the second 11 because I went to Batara Junior Sec, where I played in the league at the time. It was under 16s at the time, and then I went to Malik Senior Comprehensive. I was involved in that 1990 squad. We won the clean sweep and was the first ever victories for Malik Senior come. Under Keith Lukloy was the manager at the time. So I had a spell in the secondary schools football, probably played about 2 games at that time. So I was a bit of a late developer because I was, you mightn't believe it, I was pretty small when I was going to school. So it was always a concern about my physicality, whether I would be physically equipped enough to stand up in any football league. So it was always a concern in that. So I was one of those that was more of a late development stage for me. And when I did develop, it just went like a rocket and it just took off from there more or less. And that was more or less my pathway before getting involved with the national and 23 team under the manager, Jimmy Blah, at the time was the manager. That was the first, my first national experience before making my debut under Ian Porterfield with the national senior team. And that was mainly because Jimmy Blah was involved under Porterfield. And from there, the rest, I think, is all history in terms of Denis Laurence and his football career.
Right, that we will get into. I see Narada licking his lips. You want to ask a question so bad.
It's the both journeys were, I guess, somewhat similar and somewhat different as well. But from there, then the journey goes to outside of Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm just thinking, okay, you at the time were at the Defence Force, where you more or less you could say you have a stable job playing football. And then Marvin, you were at Carib at the time, right? So then wanting something more, what was that phone call like? Or what was the feeling when now you heard that you're now going outside of Trinidad and Tobago to do the very same thing that you love doing right here? Did you accept it with open arms, or was there some sort of process of thought that had to go in to decide that?
It was always going to be a fascinating experience once you got the telephone call. I think we probably went in the same way in different avenues. Because I then, while during my time in the army, I came across and I met this agent, Mike Berry. And I've got to say, he's looked after me ever since. And I think Peter Miller at the time was in Trinidad. He was involved with San Juan. So there was a lot of opportunities during my time to go to trials and things like that. And to be fair, I had to take my time and make the right decisions. And I went to Newcastle on trial under Bobby Robson was the manager at the time. And whilst I was there, I spent 8 days because I was meant to spend 12 days, and at the time the Defence Force had a final We had a FA Cup final, and to be fair to Bobby Robson at the time, after the 8 days, he said to me, look, I know you've got a final back in Trinidad, so I'm going to allow you to go back. But I would like you to come back to Newcastle. So, because he was very interested in the 8 days that I spent there. And then I came back and I played the final. But then whilst I was here, my agent then rang me and he said to me, he said, look, you can go back to Newcastle, but Bolton would like you to come there and spend a few days at Bolton. And I just thought at the time, well, I've been to Newcastle for 8 days. You know, I don't think I would need to go back, so I went to Bolton. And I went to Bolton and I had a 5-day trial there. And to be fair, I was offered a contract by Bolton. But at the same time, the Wrexham manager came to watch the game that I played in. And he then said to my agent, I'll take him in the morning. So I go into the car and my agent then said to me, well, look, you've got a contract offer from Bolton, but you also got a contract offer from Wrexham. To be fair, at the time when I was at Bolton, I was a bit unsure whether I wanted to stay at Bolton. And then with Carlos and Hector being at Wrexham, I just thought to myself it would be better for me to go to Wrexham. So I chose to go to Wrexham in terms that I thought it would have been the better development process for me. Because even though I was older, I still was totally inexperienced to being in a foreign country. So it is a fascinating phone call when it's not so much a phone call that you're going to go to the UK, it's the phone call or somebody saying to you, right, I'm going to offer you a contract. And then even when you get offered the contract, then you got the next battle, you've got to achieve your work permit and you've got to, so it's a long process. So it's when it's fully completed and you've got your work permit and you sign the contract, I think that's when more or less, you know, the emotions then start coming up.
And Marvin, what about you?
Well, for me, obviously working in Carib, I just, got the job. I was 21 years of age, enjoying the job, enjoying playing part-time football. Everything was going, really well. Then Mr. Tim Nafziger, as I said, God rest his soul, he's no longer here with us, but he pulled me into his office and he said, Marv, I want you to go and show the world your talent. And then he came up, he said, I want to send you to Scotland. I was like, where? I didn't have the slightest idea where Scotland was. And obviously, in Trinidad at that time, you only get, a bit of English football and a bit of Italian football. And obviously, I went and do my research on Scotland and then I heard it snow there. And then I was saying, I'm living in a hot country all my life. And then, he's sending me to a place where it snows. I've never seen snow in my life. And obviously, I really thought about it. I'm a man that always prayed. And I believe that this was an opportunity, for me to really go and show the world my talent. I was very obviously nervous at 21 years of age, never lived outside of Trinidad and Tobago. Yes, I've been with the national team to different parts of the world for, 10 days and, 7 days, but never lived outside of Trinidad and Tobago. Went on a trial, a 2-week trial with Motherwell Football Club. That was in September 1997. We went had a 2-week trial, went training, everything went really well. Alec McLeish was the manager at that time. Unfortunately, he never signed me because he told me he was looking for a more experienced defender at that time who knew the Scottish game. I didn't know the Scottish game. And then from there, the agent that, Mr. Tim Nafziger, who arranged for me to go up on the trial, took me to Wraith Rovers, which is the club in the area where I live at this present time, which is based in Kirkcaldy in Scotland. The manager, Jimmy Nichol, offered me a 2-week trial. And obviously my first game in the 2-week trial was against Dundee United. And then we went to play a game. And then I came out, from the changing room. And then all of a sudden, the grass was white. And I was saying to myself, how the grass is white? So I'm asking all the boys, what's going on here? Oh, the grass is white. They said, Marv, that is ice. So I said, okay, the game is off. They said, no, the game is still on. And I was like in total shock how, I've never seen in my life the grass is actually white. And that was in late September. It frost over in Scotland. That to show you how cold it was. I played the game. It wasn't one of my best games. And we lose 4-0. And obviously the manager said that, they can't sign me on that performance, but they'll give me another chance. And then obviously we went on another week. I played against Livingston, had a phenomenal performance, and then they offered me a 2-year contract in September 1997. But at that time, you need a work permit to remain in the country, so I had to come back to Trinidad and Tobago for 3 months, apply for the work permit, and then I went back over in the year of February 1998, and that is when I started, I signed my first professional contract at 22 years of age for Red Rovers Football Club.
Were you guys national players before you got contracts, or you got contracts before you became a national player?
No, I wasn't. I was national. Was national because I came through from under 18
all the way through.
All the way through. Yeah.
So, at what point you got your contract? After the 2006 World Cup or before that?
No, I was way before that. My contract. I get my first professional contract was February 1998.
98. And you were playing for Carib at that time?
I was playing for Carib and national under 20.
Okay. And you, Lawrence?
I was the same. I got my contract after representing Trinidad and Tobago in 2001.
Okay.
So that's when I went abroad to start playing.
Right.
Because at that time, just not to cut across, but at that time, if you didn't represent your country for the last 2 years, you would struggle to get a work permit at that time.
Especially in England.
In England, yeah. You had to represent your country for the last 2 years for you to get a work permit to play in Britain.
So let's talk some of your international experience in Trinidad and Tobago. What teams you guys were on, or who the players were around you at that time? It had to be different to the 2006 World Cup squad, right? Which we're going to get to.
Yeah. Okay. My experience is, obviously, I go way back to the Defence Force, because at the time when I joined the Defence Force, you're talking about players like Hudson Charles, Bertram O'Brien, Shiggy. These players were all still involved in Trinidad and Tobago football. Dexter Lee, Kerry Jameson. All these players was part of the 1989 squad and all these things. So when I joined the national team, most of these players, Angus Eve and them, they were the senior players. Marvin, Stern, they were all the senior players when I joined the team. So as I said before, I was one of the late developers. I came into the group at a very late stage, so these boys and them was probably ahead of me.
Right. And you, Marvin?
Yeah, well, for me, as I said, some of the boys, I obviously, Tony Roger was one of the guys that, I come up with. Obviously, he said Angus Eve, Sean David, Sherland David, Lyndon Andrews, because most of the guys who came through national under 18 and under 20, we went on to be, part of the senior team. I think we had a squad, I think the national under 23 team that when we went to Canada to do, I think it's the CSC games, I think we had a really, really good squad there. As I say, Arnold Dorica was a part of that squad, Sean David, Lyndon Andrews, myself, Kelvin Jack, David Austin, goalkeeper. We had so much people. I think Larry Luby, he was part of it. So, at that time, Trinidad and Tobago just talent from every angle. So we had a lot of players, coming through in my era as a young boy coming up, playing for national under 18, under 20, under 23, under 21. So I came through, a lot of teams, before, as I said, when Denis came, I was probably like a senior player at that time because of so much, I've been around the national team for so many years.
Right. So I know the national team is like a revolving door. It's like a revolving door at that time, or even in our time, is the amount of players go through it. So, but it's always you preparing for a tournament. So think about this question, and we'll go for a break, and when we come back, I want you to tell me what tournament they will be preparing for, you, Denis, as well, when you got onto the national team for the first time. Okay? Viewers, we'll be right back after the show.
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited, building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Before the break, we were talking about the different national teams that we represented and how did we get on and who we played against and all that good stuff. Now, I want the guys now to tell me what tournament or what national team they were preparing for, or tournament they were preparing for when they did get on the squad.
Right, for me, you know, as I said, when I came from San Juan Senior Comprehensive, I was 17 years of age. Then there was a screening for the national under 20, or under 18 tournament, which was in Puerto Rico. Mr. Keith Locloyd was the manager at that time. And this was the tournament we were preparing for Trinidad and Tobago to represent, you know, at the national under 18, you know, tournament in Puerto Rico at that time. So I just came out from school. Obviously, there were over, I think, 100 players was screening at that time in St. Augustine. And obviously, you know, you had to boil it down to a squad of 18. And as I said, thankfully, by God's grace, I made that final 18. And that was the first time I was, you know, I represent Trinidad and Tobago. You know,
at the under 18 level?
At under 18 level.
What about the top level?
At the top level, I actually, there was a World Cup qualifier, I think was for the probably 94 World Cup. Yeah, I think it was the 1994 World Cup. I made my debut against America, and I came on for Tony Roger in the national stadium.
Okay.
That is when I actually breaked into the senior team, because at that time I was playing for national under 18. I went national under 20, under 23, and I was training now and again with the senior team, but I was never selected to play. And at that time, obviously, I was part of the squad. I was on the bench. As I said, Tony Roger and all these, as he said, you know, Kerry Jemison and most of the players who were on the 89 squad, they were still involved in the national team, and we were the ones coming up behind them. And I made my first senior team debut was in, I think it's for the 1993. It was for the 1994, I think, World Cup. You know, I came on for Mr. Tony Roger.
Okay, and Denis?
My first representing national team at junior level was in national under 23. We were actually in preparation for the Pan American Games. And we went to St. Martin. We had a three-nation tournament, which for me was a fantastic experience because we had the opportunities. We played against Saint Etienne, and there was a St. Martin national team and Trinidad and Tobago. And Saint Etienne had players at the time like Laurent Blanc and Milosevic and John-Pierre Papin, so it was an incredible experience. And that was the national under 23. And then with the national senior team, I went straight into the World Cup qualification campaign. And that was for the 2002 World Cup, that was, because that was the manager at the time was Ian Porterfield. So I can always remember I made my debut for the national senior team. It was against Netherlands Antilles in that 2002 World Cup qualification campaign. So that was the two times I got introduced into national football.
Right. I guess from that point in time, the club football for you guys was starting to get very, I like to say, I'm saying prominent because of the fact that about 2 years after that, I don't know if you all probably checked, but coincidentally, you all had Player of the Years at your respective clubs around the 2003, somewhere around season that time. So do you think that the national team playing, now you're basically at the prime to an extent of your playing career? What was the experience for both yourself, Denis, would have been in Wales with Wrexham and then Scotland? And I would have another question, which would be, what was it like being a foreign player in those respective leagues? Not necessarily only from the ethnicity side of it, but just being in leagues that we don't know too well in Trinidad and Tobago. What is the experience in Wales and in Scotland as well?
The very first thing for me, what I found when I went to Wales, is that it was almost home away from home, because the people in and around the football club and the people in Wales, they were really, really friendly. So that helped a lot. And then when I joined the club, obviously, because of the fact that Carlos and Hector was there before me, so they had prior knowledge of our culture and what we were like. and it was a totally different experience. But I think what helped me in a way was the fact that I went there and I was a lot older, and I had experience from being in the army. So I was always prepared to face challenges. And it was strange because when I got there, you get there and you're full of adrenaline, you're full of excitement and everything. And I started off at the football club, and I was like at the top of my game because I left Trinidad. I was at the top of my game, and for the first month and a half, I was right up there. And then after the month and a half, I hit the brick wall, and my performances started to go that way. And this was only for the club, and it was really challenging at the time because that's when you understood, hang on, you're not home here because it's a different sort of criticism, it's a different sort of pressure, and you just got introduced to the internet, and you get there and you get caught up into all the excitement of looking for all the good comments and listening to the good comments, and then all of a sudden you get that one negative comment about your performance, and then you go, hang on, what's happening here? And it's something that you're not used to. So I think for me, that was the biggest challenge that I faced, understanding that there's a different type of pressure when you play for these football clubs, because these football clubs, for the fans, it's a passion, it's their football club, it means a lot to them. Compared to in Trinidad, it's a result. And in Trinidad, it's always the result and it's somebody else's fault. And here, you're being put under different pressure to try and achieve things, to make sure you keep your level of performances. And that was probably the biggest challenge. But in terms of what the club had to offer, what the place was like, what the experience was like, it was incredible. And it's an eye-opener. And I would always say that I would wish it on any other Trinidad and Tobago football to be able to get the experience. We're all not going to be fortunate to get it, but it's fantastic, and it's something that I think that you just got to try and embrace. But it's great if you can have the experience of somebody behind you trying to tell you about what to expect and what the challenges going to come towards you. And I mean, our challenges was only small compared to somebody like Dwight, who's playing for Aston Villa and playing for Manchester United. So, I mean, the credit that you can give to people like Dwight and Shaka and Russell and Stern and them for what they've achieved, it's incredible, and what they've done for Trinidad and Tobago football, and you can't give them more than credit for what they've done.
Well, for me, one of the first challenges was obviously, when I went to Scotland, they didn't have much black people there, one. One of the person who was there, well, some of the players who were there before me, Tony Roger, he played for Red Rovers, Arnold Dorica, Craig Deming, and I think Craig Deming's brother, they were at a team called East 5, which is in the local area where I stay at this present time. But one of the biggest challenges as well, as I said, the weather. It's cold, you're not used to it, and you're watching these guys and them, running about in it like it's not a problem, And, for me, it took me a year to actually settle. I was homesick for a year, knowing, missing Trinidad and Tobago. You're always inside. When you finish training, it's back inside, because it's not that you can go on the block and hang out with your friends and stuff. It's completely different. And just as, Denis said, I thought Trinidad and Tobago love football. But it's until I went to Scotland, you see people who really love football. They are passionate, just as Denis said, the fans are passionate. If you give them opportunity, they can kill you for the club, because that is their life. Every Saturday, they're coming to watch you, they're coming to support you. Don't matter how far the game is, they are there. And just as Denis said, you are constantly under pressure. Why? Because every game you play, you get a statistic on the Monday morning. Either in the Sun newspaper, which is one of the most hated newspapers, I think, in the UK, that where they will grade you and tell you either you get a 5 out of 10, a 6 out of 10, a 2 out of 10, and they tell you how you play. Then just as Denis said, as a young man, when you read that, and then obviously you have fans who probably wasn't happy with your performance, there's an added pressure. And these are the things that help develop us into the players that we became, that it was even more beneficial for Trinidad and Tobago when it came to the crucial time. And this was a learning curve for us, that you're fighting against the weather, you're fighting against racism, you're fighting against different things. And the same as Denis said, that when I went to Scotland, I was welcome in open arms as well. They made me feel at home. The people were so friendly. They look after me. The fans were, were so good to me at the same time. But there were challenges along the way. And, it's not easy, to go into a foreign country and become what we have achieved. Is not an easy thing, because you're in a foreign country. You're not in your home. You're speaking a different language. You can't understand some of the things the boys are saying. They can't understand you. The food is different. The things that they eat is different. So there are loads of different challenges. But I believe it was all a blessing to us in disguise. And as I said, by the grace of God, it helped develop us and make us, better players, and help us to benefit Trinidad and Tobago at the end.
Let's go to memory lane for a second. I'd like to know you guys' highest and lowest moments. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot, somewhere in between. But what jumps out at you, highest and lowest moments?
Well, for me, obviously, I was 16 years of age when Trinidad and Tobago, missed out on qualifying for the 1990 World Cup in the National Stadium. I was sitting in my house, I was watching that game, and had on my red T-shirt because I couldn't get a ticket, I couldn't get a T-shirt to go to the stadium. And, I watched that game, and then I saw the heartbroken of the players, the entire nation. And for me, that was probably one of I wasn't playing in the game, but just as a true supporter of Trinidad and Tobago, being a Trinidadian, you wanted to see your country make their first ever World Cup, and I was there. And that was the day when I said to myself, God alone heard me, that I want to be part of the team that will help take my country for the first ever World Cup after that day.
Right.
And it was after that day I found a drive, I found a desire to help take my country to a World Cup. I tried 3 times. I was a part of the team for the 1994 World Cup, 98, 2002, and then the next time, which was 2006, that dream came to pass. But within that time, for me, obviously, yes, I lose games here and there. I made, crucial mistakes here and there. But for me, even though I didn't play, the lowest time for me was, that day when I saw our country. Because after that day of 1989, I think our country went really, really down when it comes to the footballing world. And as I said, that was a low point for me. And then obviously, my high point is, that day in Bahrain, in 2005.
2006, right. What about you, Denis?
As Marvin said, 1989 was a really low point, but I think after the England game for me, that was probably the lowest I've ever felt in my footballing career. And I think it was a bit because of being in the UK and seeing the fact that we weren't even given a chance before the game. And when we played England in that day, to get to 83 minutes and we were 0-0 at the time and we felt in control of the game, and to concede the 2 games, I think it's probably the lowest I've ever felt involved in football and anything, because we didn't deserve that on the day, and it would have been a fantastic achievement for Trinidad and Tobago. And it's just everything around the dressing room after, the bus ride back, getting back to the hotel, and it was just down. It was as flat as it can be. And in terms of the highs, I know the Bahrain was probably a fantastic day, and I really enjoyed it. But I said to Marvin, and I keep saying it to him, he wasn't fortunate enough to come back to Trinidad. And when we arrived back in Trinidad, for me, that would never, ever, ever leave me as a person, as an individual, because I saw Trinidad and Tobago as one as a country. Mm-hmm. And we weren't as one for a bad memory. It was in celebration of a fantastic achievement, and the country united in a positive way, and the celebrations, the joy on the people's face. And I take that to me, because I think beyond football, that was special for me. And that would probably be the highest involved in anything for me in footballing, because I think it'd be very difficult to repeat it. But I'd love to see it be repeated, but it'd be very difficult.
It was even higher when you put your head on the ball and it was going in the goal, and the whole country went crazy, and the whole world did. Every Trinidadian everywhere in this world. Yeah. And it was even bigger then.
Yeah, the funny part about that is...
You can remember it, right?
The funny part about it is everybody knows that's the man to get his head on the ball, because everybody knows he's probably the best header of the ball I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And in all the time we've played together, I've always been the decoy.
Right.
I've always been the decoy, and I've always said to him, because obviously because of my height, they think that's the man, we need to get close to him. And I always used to say to him, Marv, don't worry, I'll just make the run, I'll be the decoy. And for the first time, the ball came up in the air, and normally I would just leave it and keep going. And for some reason, I just decided, no, I'm going to get this one. And I managed to get my head on it. And you talk about blessings and God looking after his kids, but we were blessed on the day because the ball went through the guy's legs on the line and all sorts. And those things they don't happen by luck.
No.
They happen for a reason. Destiny is something that I don't think any man can prevent destiny. And it was always going to be our destiny that was going to happen to us. And it's easy to say no because it's already happened. But the disappointment we had from the first leg in Trinidad and Tobago, what I felt in my stomach and what the boys felt, we were desperate to go to Bahrain and put it right. And because we knew we should have won the game at home. But then because of unforeseen circumstances, we got caught up in the atmosphere, we got caught up in the hype. It was just too much around the game. And I think from that point of view, we just probably were over anxious. Right. But we should have really won the game at home. So we all just wanted to put our soul right in Bahrain. So I think it was always going to be our destiny.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
The viewers, you guys are so lucky. We got the two guys in the hole, in the middle, who was stuffing it up, that nothing can come through, and did what they had to do. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I just wanted to highlight on some things for you all to, take responsibility or just to actually understand. Like for me, the high point with Denis would be that goal. I think you may not understand exactly what really happened. The same experience you had with 89 is what we had. Me at that age, going out into the street and literally seeing no cars moving because everybody's coming out of their vehicles, stopping on the bus route. Everybody's in red, screaming, ball. That is really an experience I don't think, unless you're in the country, you understand. And for Marvin, the pleasure also as Trinidadians was to see you playing at Rangers. It's a derby that we see. A lot of people sit back and you watch television, and just wanted to commend you guys on that. And for when we come back, we're seeing both of you all here. What is the partnership really like off the field with you guys?
Let's take a break, and when we come back, you guys will answer that question. Viewers, we'll be right back after a short break.
Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited offers solutions to your immediate and future potential problem areas by providing you with a qualified team of safety consultants. Worldwide Safety Consultants Limited, building a reputation on quality and value since 1999. Located 23 Todd Street, San Fernando, Trinidad. Phone 868-657-1534 or 868-788-6955. worldwidesafety@yahoo.com.
Welcome back, viewers. Before the break, again, we were talking about the goal that ring around the world, right? Rung around the world in that Bahrain game. And then, Narada, your question to them were?
Because we're seeing Denis has about 100 caps for Trinidad, if I'm not mistaken. 89. Marvin has the 100. Good, I see I mixed it up. So that means we have almost a century of games between you both. And the partnership is on the field, the two center defenders. And we always see them moving all over together. When one is in the country, it's guaranteed the other might be here. So I'm just wondering, you know, we see what is happening on the field. What is the camaraderie like or the partnership like off the field?
I think if you ask anyone, they would understand what's the relationship between Marvin and I. Marvin and I we're more than friends. I would say we like brothers. We've got a great understanding in terms of I respect Marvin for what Marvin stands for. Marvin respects me for what I stand for. But the relationship is beyond the football pitch. We've always been leaders in our own way. I'm the leader in this relationship, just so everybody understands. But it's more because we came up together, even though we never actually played on the same team until we played for the national team. Right. We played against each other. We grew up in the same sort of environment. He lived in Sanwa, I lived in Movda. We knew each other. He headbutted me when the ball was on my feet as players. So we've got a special, and he went to the UK before I did, even though he was in Scotland. He helped me through my time going over into the UK, and we've always kept in contact.
So you all would call each other if something
It's the only
happen.
person, right. Apart from, obviously, I've got a great relationship with people like Jason Scotland and Stern, but Marvin and I would still find ourselves on the phone like women talking for 2 hours on the phone. And we've just got a great relationship on and off the football pitch, but I think it's mainly because of our upbringing. Our upbringing is very, very similar. So I think we both understand each other. But as I said before, I'm the daddy in the relationship.
Marvin, you don't believe that, right?
Well, we would have our moments where we are studying the relationship, but the relationship with me developing with Denis is, as I said, God alone knows how he brought me across Denis, because it was my cousin Sean David, who played for the national team many times, national under 23 and under 20 level with me, and when I used to go to San Juan Senior Comprehensive, at that time the team was Malik Senior Comprehensive. I used to go and watch Sean David. I used to come and watch Denis. I used to go in the stadium and watch Malik. I always remember the final, Malik against St. Augustine, Nixon against Denis and Sean David. And I used to go and watch them in the stadium. And it's true, my cousin Sean David, I met Denis, went to his house and met him for the first time. Because just as he said earlier, he was very, very smally, And I always used to ask, Sean, that why Denis is not playing. He's so skillful. But the manager used, Keith Locklear used to always think that he's too small. He wanted somebody a bit a muscle and stuff like that. And that was how I ended up meeting Denis. But since we came on the national team together, we're always together. So many times if you ask many managers, they will tell you that we are always together. And when we go with the national team, when we many times they ask us, they give us single rooms. We decide that no, we will stay in the same room, together. We don't want a single room, and so we have such a good friendship. And as I say, we always stay in contact with one another. And many people recognize that once they see Denis, they see me, because we are always moving together. But that shows what friendship is really, really about. And as I said, we always try to help each other out. We don't agree on every single thing, but most of the time we come to the conclusion where we respect one another. And, that is what friendship is about.
Competitors you guys play against, people you play against, who's your toughest competitor?
For me, obviously, when I played with, Glasgow Rangers, I played against Adriano. I played against, Wee Martins when he was at, Inter Milan. But one of my toughest competitors I've ever played against was Ronald de Boer. Ronald de Boer was at, I was playing at Livingston at that time. He was at Rangers, coming at the end of his career. But he was one of the best players I've ever come up against. His movement, his intelligence of the game is, phenomenal. I came up against Henrik Larsson as well when he played for Celtic. These are top players. But for me, my toughest opponent was, I would say, Ronald de Boer.
You couldn't catch him to hit him because
No,
you hit hard.
I couldn't hit him because his movement was just phenomenal.
Okay,
Yeah.
What about you, Dennis?
I can always remember playing Czech Republic, and they had Big Yankula, of course, but the guy for me he was exceptional, was power and everything. He was unplayable that day, and he's probably for me he's been the best player I've played against because he just knew how to find space on the football pitch. He saw things before it happened. He was influential in the game. He was and the fact that he played for Juventus as well, because I used to be a huge Juventus fan. He was incredible for me that day, and he would probably be the one that I've seen he's left a landmark in my mind.
Right, and I'm saying this because I know you run into people that no matter what you do, you just can't stop them, and it happens.
Yeah.
Okay, I can save the best for last. Our national team, we have talent, a lot of talent. And we had a coach who came in and was doing a hell of a job, I would say. What do you think? Do you think we go in the right direction? Do you think we can do something different to make it better? What your thoughts? Give me some of your thoughts, you guys.
Well, for me, obviously, from when we qualified for the World Cup in 2006, I was expecting for Trinidad and Tobago to be at least be in the 2010 World Cup because of the squad that we have, because of the players that we had. But I believe we went back the way at that time. Obviously, for different reasons or whatever, financial situation, administration situation, because as we just explained and we all saw it for ourselves wherever we were in the world, that 2006 was the pinnacle of Trinidad and Tobago football. And thinking that after what we felt, what we saw, that we will have that motivation and that drive to go for another one. But unfortunately, we didn't. The current team at the moment, I think the manager has come in and did a phenomenal job. Obviously, he's getting results. Obviously, for the past, tournaments, even in the Gold Cup, they have shown that Trinidad and Tobago is getting back to where they were, to the team. Obviously, good camaraderie with the boys. They look like they have a good team spirit. The manager have them playing a good brand of football. They're winning games. And at this present time, they're in a very, very good position to move on to the final stage. So at this present time, I think all they can do is keep doing what they're doing, keep working hard, don't give up, and keep doing the things that get them to where they are. Because my biggest fear for us as Trinidadians is that when things are going well for us, that's when we are most vulnerable. That's when we think we are there. That's what the Bible says. He who don't think that you have already reached, be careful, because if not, you can fall away in a split second. So I don't think the manager will allow that to happen, that complacency, whoever, but I believe they are in a very, very good position to do something special and to probably, emulate what took place in 2006. So that is my view at this present time. I believe we're in a good position to do something great.
What would you?
I find it difficult to comment in terms of the progression of the team, because I'm talking based on results, because I don't have the opportunity to see the games enough to say and talk about the performance. Or I've had a few conversations with the current manager of the team, and I know he's working hard and he's doing well, and the players look to me from the odd times I've seen them, like they're pulling together and they're really trying to give it a go, which is fantastic in them. And I do hope that to keep their heads on. And what I'm going to say now is probably a bit from our time in finishing with the national team, is that there was a bit of a players coming into the team starting to think about what can Trinidad and Tobago do for me. And it was something that for me I didn't really enjoy seeing, because I always think it should be the other way around. It should be, what can I give for my country? And what would then happen then is you will be rewarded. I can guarantee you, right, in life, you will get your rewards. Don't go into anything thinking about what my reward is going to be. Just think about doing your best and performing and giving you all for your country, for your team, for the manager. And in the end, you will get your rewards. And I know the manager is probably working hard. And the one thing for me, and we went to visit the TTFF office the other day, and I said to them, the one thing I don't understand, what we do a lot is we hide our history. And I think it's wrong, because we need to promote the history that we've got. We need to understand that if a kid comes in the city, he needs to know who's Steve David, because he probably doesn't know, because we hide away our history. We need to promote our history. Our history is from Steve David days, from 1989. The 2006 is the pinnacle. So anywhere we go, we need people to understand that this is what we are as a country. This is what our football is based on. And a kid needs to understand that that is what I need to achieve. So we need to promote that. I'm 100% sure the boys are giving their all and they're trying, and the manager is working his best. I would hope somewhere along the line I'd love to be able to see the game so I can be more detailed in terms of the performances and why I think it'd be unfair for me to do it now, because as I said, I don't see the games enough. I only see the results, and anybody, I don't want to be a, what you call them, a rum shop supporter and give a comment because of a result. I know we've lost the last 3 games. I haven't seen the games to know what the performance was to lose the game, obviously. So hopefully it's something that we could correct. And you know, I personally want to wish the boys all the best, and I really, really do hope that to stick together as a group and try and see if they can be the next group to become heroes for this great nation of us, and try and just change Trinidad and Tobago a bit in a positive way, because I said it back in 2006 and I say it again now. It's an avenue to try and help curb the situation we find ourselves in with the crime and what is taking place in, because sports is a way to try and eradicate some of the problems we've got. So that's as much as I can say of it.
Right.
Yeah, I was quickly going to ask some of the players that you thought could emulate you guys in the future, but because you said, you know, you didn't see enough of the games, I think that would be unfair. But my question would probably be, being a premiership coach or having the experience to be around that environment, what do you see Trinidad and Tobago football lacking? And then for Marvin would just be, being a player today, how long are we going to hear about Marvin Andrews playing professional football, if you could give an estimate timeline? So that's it.
And the one thing I would say, we lack professionalism, because I think we use the word professionalism. I don't think we understand what professionalism is about. Professionalism is an attitude. It's an off the pitch and it's an on the pitch attitude. It's a way you go about your daily job, because people get in the habit, and players, it's starting to creep into players now. They're going to training. You're not going to training, you're going to work. And you need to find a way to enjoy your work. So professionalism is not just putting your shirt in your pants or making sure professionalism is an attitude. And we need to change our attitude, we need to change our mentality, and we need to understand that when I put on that shirt, whether it be in training, whatever, I need to give them all. Whatever problems you've got, that will take care of itself. But at the moment, while I'm training, while I'm preparing for games, I need to give them everything. So we need to just understand that professionalism a little bit more.
For me, obviously, I'm still playing today because of the grace of God. And, you know, God has blessed me so much. And one of my ultimate dreams was to keep playing till I'm 40 years of age. I've fulfilled that dream. At this present time, I'm just going to play until, you know, I realize that, Marv, you can't do it anymore. At this present time, I'm feeling very fit, I'm feeling very well. God has kept me healthy, kept me strong, no major injuries. And, you know, I speak to a lot of ex-pros, you know, who play the game at top level, and one of their advice to me is, Marv, just play as long as you can. Because when you stop playing this game that you love, that you play for probably all your life, it will not be easy. And that's why I just want to play as long as I can, just be involved in the game. And, you know, as I say, going into the dressing room, as Denis say, you're going to work, you're going to do something that you love, you do all your life. So for me, once God gives me health and strength, once I keep myself fit, I'm just going to play as long as I can.
Before you guys go, I want you to tell the next Marvin Andrews, that little kid out there, anything that you want to tell him, and also you, Dennis, talk to the next Denis Laurence.
The next Marvin Andrews out there, which I know there will be many of them, my first and foremost advice to you is obey your parents, which is a very, very important thing. Secondly, if you don't know God, give God a chance. Give your life to Christ. Give your life to God. Serve God. Because I couldn't be where I am today without God. And you yourself will not be another Marvin Andrews without God. Thirdly, believe in yourself. Believe in the talent and the gift that God has given unto you. Don't try to be somebody else. Be who God created you to be. And that is my advice to the next Marvin Andrews or Andrews that are out there.
Denis?
I like everyone, the kids especially, to understand and to know that you've got to have a dream. And on your way to your dream, try and make it a positive dream. And you keep going for that dream. Don't let anyone say to you that you cannot achieve your dreams. Because you mightn't achieve one dream, but you'd get somewhere close to it. So keep believing, as Marvin said. Try and accomplish your dreams. And try and understand that the parents, you've played a very important part to the dream that your kid wants to achieve. So try and support him and be helpful and give him everything he's got or her to try and accomplish these dreams.
Okay.
Yeah, just for me to close, I just want to say I am that kid that listening to you guys. So I would say I would be the best football agent because I'm sitting down in the presence and I know my history of what is equivalent to MSL Player of the Year, Steve David. Marvin Andrews, who's played at the highest level in the derbies that we watch on TV with Rangers, and with Denis Laurence, who sent us to the World Cup and is coaching at the Premiership level. So I am amongst greatness. I know the history, so I know where I have to go in the future.
Okay, viewers, you've heard it, you've seen it. They are the best. They took us to the highest level that we ever got to in football. And I want to thank you viewers for letting us into your homes and bringing the show to you. I want to thank Axe Television Network for giving us the opportunity. Most of all, I want to thank the panel, you, Marvin, and you, Denis, for being here. I appreciate you guys so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
when
us.
you guys back in the country again, I hope we can get another session with you, talk about where your life is going and things that you're doing. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Narada, as usual, thank you, buddy.
Pleasure.
And viewers, don't forget, we have a Facebook page. Check us out, and we do have an email address, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com, where you can drop us a line. The show has ended. Go in peace. I'll see you next Monday night. Don't forget, we comes on every Monday night at 8 to 9 p.m. every Monday night, and we repeat on a Tuesday at 1. See you next time. Good night.